I am so incredibly honored to be surrounded by 5 of the most incredible student athletes on this campus. And I think I so enjoyed the last talk, Nina. I thought you did an incredible job, and thank you for the leadership that you provide in the athletic department. I think a lot of the attention goes to basketball and football. And what I hope to accomplish today is to introduce you to 5 women from 3 different sports. And I had to do an enormous amount of research on this group. So I have some notes here to kind of like keep up with all the accomplishments that we have on this stage today. So we're representing field hockey, volleyball, and track and field. So in addition to the fact that they have incredible athletic accomplishments, which we will highlight, every single woman on this stage has received ACC academic honors. And 2 of the women, Izzy and Piper, have received national academic recognition. And I just want to throw out the majors to you. Art studies, statistical science, neuroscience, computer science, and last but not least, chemistry, with an interest in biological research with a plan of becoming a physician scientist focused on sickle cell research. So, Elena, I think you're in the house, and you have the next session, but I might be bleeding into your time. Okay, so we're gonna start with Piper. Piper, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Piper is on the field hockey team and is a senior, so if you could give yourself a little bit of a brief overview, we would love to hear it.
Hi everyone, I'm Piper. As Sue said, I'm a senior on the field hockey team, also the goalkeeper and team captain from this past year. In the classroom, I'm that statistical science major, so I have a little bit of a math brain about me. And I'm hoping to continue on into the sports analytics world, but before I do that here on campus, I represent a lot of our student athletes through Student Athlete Advisory Committee, doing some work in the DEIB space with Nina's DEIB strategic plan, and just overall representing student athletes here at Duke, but also at the conference and the national level. It's really affirmed my love for sports, and I'm trying to stay in it however I can.
So the way this is going to work, I'm going to interview sort of quickly each of our 5 wonderful student athletes, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A because I'm sure you have some questions. So Piper, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your volunteer work, and it seems like you're very passionate about empowering young girls. So can you share a bit about that with us?
Absolutely. I had 3 older sisters growing up, and they all played field hockey in college as well, so I was never short of mentors in my life, for better or for worse. So I always knew, not only what I wanted to do, but how I was going to do it. I had 3 sort of trial runs before the final draft. And so now being in the position I'm in, I want to turn around and be that mentor for someone else. There are so many young women, young girls out there who are aspiring to be athletes, aspiring to be in the chairs that we're in, who maybe don't know how to get there. So I primarily work with Strong Girls United and their female athlete mentoring program. So I match one-to-one with a middle school aged young athlete and just give them overall mental health advice, work on their mental skills, sometimes lead them through workouts, and just be that big sister that they might not have, because I had so many great role models in my life, and I think it's an awesome opportunity for me to use my resources and give them back to the next generation of female athletes. I also think it's a really good way to connect with the communities here. There are young women, actually concurrently with this panel, there's the National Girls and Women in Sports Day Clinic happening over in Cameron. So there's hundreds of young girls who are being exposed to athletes like us, and I think that's an awesome pipeline for, again, the next generation of people who will be in these seats and the ones who will be watching as alums on this panel.
That's great. Can you share a little bit about how you have been able to combine your major in statistics with sports and the work that you did? I think it was with the Milwaukee Brewers last summer.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to go into sports analytics, and I've dabbled in it a little bit. Last summer, I was with the Brewers working in international scouting. So Brewers and baseball at large has been influenced by analytics since Moneyball in the early 2000s. So I can remember watching that movie and being like, I don't want to be Brad Pitt. I don't want to be like the big commander in the room. I want to be Jonah Hill, the one who's crunching numbers in the back. And so sports analytics was like an awesome opportunity to get in there. I found my love for statistics and coding while I was here at Duke. I'd never coded before, so I think programs like Sue's are going to be awesome for opening that door a little bit sooner. But obviously that math brain in me really wanted to crunch numbers, but I couldn't imagine getting away from sports. So working with the Brewers and just seeing how they're able to quantify performance on the field and use it in conjunction with what athletes and coaches already know about themselves. You have these gut feelings when you're on the field, but if you can supplement them with numbers and something more concrete, I think it's going to make not only baseball, but other sports and other athletes be able to compete at a higher level. This coming summer, I'm pivoting to ice hockey, which is an interesting world of analytics. I think it'll be a cool transition coming from field hockey to ice hockey. But I'll be working in Chicago with the Blackhawks, so I'm hoping to, thank you guys. But I'm hoping, again, for the rest of my life to combine the knowledge I have in sports and that athletic IQ, again, the gut feelings that we've all experienced on the field and track and court, and take that in combination with some numbers and really change an organization. I think baseball's done a really good job of that, but there are so many other sports, even here at Duke with our own team. Field hockey's using a little bit more analytics and just being able to see our numbers about possession, about turnover rates, about goals, shots on. These are all great things that are helping us athletically, not only what we're doing in the weight room and at practice, but the knowledge that we can take in about ourselves and our opponents, I think, is developing that holistic athlete that we all want to be.
So you're spending a lot of time doing this analysis in the Midwest, and you're from Massachusetts, right? Your family upset about this at all?
A little bit. I'm definitely making that move out from the East Coast, but I think my family is willing to follow me, hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, on to our next athlete, Brianna. Brianna is incredibly well accomplished in track and field. She is junior. She is the one that is going to be the physician scientist. So I would love for you to introduce yourself a little bit more, and I just can't wait to talk about high jumping. I think it's the coolest sport, so I want to hear all about it.
So hi, I'm Brianna. I'm a junior on the track and field team, and I'm actually a multi-event athlete, which many people don't know what that is, but I do the pentathlon indoors and the heptathlon outdoors. So basically just know that I do a lot of events on one day. And I'm a biology major, and I plan after undergrad to get an MD PhD degree, which will allow me to be a physician scientist. And my main interests lie in sickle cell, heart disease, diabetes, and other diseases that disproportionately affect the Black community. What I want to do is effectively combine research and patient care to better health outcomes in the Black community.
Thank you. So I would love for you to share a little bit about your experience in being a Black student athlete at Duke and also the role that you hold as president of the United Black Athletes.
Yes, so I'm president of United Black Athletes. I recently became president this semester, but I've been part of the group since my freshman year. And as soon as I came to college, United Black Athletes was really like a team outside of my team for me. I'm on a predominantly white track team, and that is just not the experience that I've had throughout my life. I went to a predominantly Black high school. I lived in a predominantly Black community. So coming to Duke was sort of a culture shock for me, and I had a lot of things to learn, a lot of things to get used to. And having United Black Athletes was really just a way for me to feel safe outside of my team and understand and know other people that were going through the same struggles as me. So United Black Athletes has really been like one of my favorite parts of my Duke experience. I've made so many lifelong friends. I've met people that I can talk to about anything, any experience, people that I know will stand up for me through any experience. United Black Athletes, our main goal is to create a sense of community for Black athletes on campus. So we hold events, we do different volunteer work. We try to make sure that our Black athletes are just having the best experience, and also that they are taking advantage of every opportunity that they can at Duke. So something we recently did is we raised money to give to the Families Moving Forward initiative, which is something that they help homeless families in Durham. And that was really important to us because, like, as United Black Athletes, we haven't had many fundraisers per se in the past. So we want to really be taken seriously as a group on campus, and doing that fundraiser was definitely like one way for us to move towards that. We also just want to make sure that we are really connecting with the Durham community, because a lot of people come to Duke and they just want to stay in the Duke bubble, or they don't really want to be immersed in Durham, but there really is so much to take account for and be grateful for in Durham. Like, it's a beautiful community, and I really love being a part of it. When I got to Duke, Durham really was something that reminded me more of home than the Duke community per se. I'm from Philadelphia, I didn't mention that, but yes, I've been able, yes, I've been able to really just immerse myself in the Durham community. Like, I love it, the food, the fun, just being able to have that community also outside of Duke that's not too connected to school has really been powerful for me.
That's awesome. I think a lot of students at Duke have started to get involved in the Duke community, or the Durham community rather, which is so very important, and that's awesome that you're doing that. I'd love to hear a little bit about your goals entering your senior year, both academically, but let's talk a little bit about athletically. You mentioned that you're a multi-sport athlete and have accomplished so much. Can you share a little bit about what a day in the life is like, and your training, and yeah, how you keep up with all of it?
Yeah, so multi-event training is very difficult. It's really been a big adjustment for me coming from high school, where I still was doing multi-event training, but it's just definitely not as intense as it has been in college. So usually our days, like our practice can be anywhere from 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, not including like lifting and stuff like that. So we'll usually work on like 2 to 3 events per day. So I'll tell y'all what the events are in the multis. So in the heptathlon, there's hurdles, high jump, shot put, the 200, and then the next day there's long jump, javelin, and the 800. So there's a lot of different events to train for. And you're really being pulled in a lot of different ways. So a regular day of practice, we could possibly like do a sprint hurdle workout, and then maybe go run something that's harder for the 800, and then end the practice off with like strength training and throwing practice. And so I'm really being pulled in a lot of different ways during the day, and the hours do get kind of long, but I find it to be very rewarding. Like, I really love the challenge of just getting my brain to really understand so many different events, and I feel like it really makes me have an appreciation for the sport, because I can see it from so many different perspectives. I know how hard it is for throwers when people may think that those events are easy and they're not. I know how hard it is for distance runners, for sprinters. Like, I really can see the different struggles of every event group, and it's just beautiful to put it all together. So my best event in the multi is high jump, and last indoor season I was the ACC champion in the high jump. Thank you. And so our ACC Indoor Championship just passed, and I jumped 6 feet for the first time, and I got the school record. So that was... Yeah, so I think my goals now really are, I've come pretty close to making the NCAA National Championship a few times. I was 17th in the pentathlon this indoor. They take top 16, so one spot out, yes. So really my goals for just outdoor and for next year are, I want to be at that championship, and I want to be competitive at the championship. So yeah, I think those are my goals for track. In terms of school, like I said, I want to be a physician scientist, so I'm really interested in research. I work in a neurobiology research lab right now, and I work on different things at the molecular level of learning and memory. And this summer, I plan to do a different research internship and hopefully work more with sickle cell or heart disease or something more correlated to what I want to do. But just making sure I get as much research experience as possible and expose myself to many different areas of research so I can narrow down what I want to do. But no matter what disease I study, I definitely know that I want it to be something that gives back to my community, and that's always been my dream, so yeah.
I mean, these are Duke student athletes. Okay, guest number 3, Rachel. So Rachel and I had a chance to chat a little bit before the panel and talked about how sophomore year is pretty fun. You're not the newbie anymore, and you don't maybe have the pressures of being an upperclassman, but can you just share a little bit about yourself to kick us off and how you're enjoying your sophomore year so far?
Hello, my name is Rachel. I am from the DMV area, kind of all over. My family has moved around a lot, but as she said, I'm a sophomore here, and this year has been a diverse array of experiences. Nothing that I can complain about because I definitely have seen a lot of growth in myself personally as I've gotten through those experiences and learned more, not just about myself, but about others within that experience. I can say it's been eye-opening in terms of being okay with not knowing what's next. That has for sure been the hardest step, especially just as I feel like a Duke student coming in, you just notice everyone around you is extremely ambitious. Everyone has a plan. Everyone has something about them that makes them extremely special. And so it can be kind of isolating and make you think, okay, so why am I here? Where do I fit into this puzzle? Where do I make this place more special than it was before? And I think that's the beauty of coming to a school like Duke. There's just so many opportunities, and there's such a diverse range of topics you can study. Some of them, in my mind, have been completely random and completely different, but when I take a class in that subject, it's like, okay, this is something that's pretty interesting. So I think my sophomore year has just been all about figuring it out and being okay with being in the unknown. And it's been a very big personality marker for me this year. I think my mantra of the year has just been, can I be 1% better today than I was yesterday?
That's some nice life advice. Thank you. So a common theme on this panel is how much volunteering all of you do. And I know you're very involved in a couple of organizations. Can you just maybe speak to the work that you do there in addition to your time as a student athlete?
Yeah, so this year recently I got involved with an organization called Gigi's Playhouse. It's a nonprofit organization that helps families who have children with primarily Down syndrome, but just really any developmental disorder within the Durham, Chapel Hill, Raleigh community. My team was fortunate enough to be able to host a Playhouse event where a lot of the families and their children came in, and we just let them loose playing volleyball in the gym for about 2 or 3 hours, and it was a lot of fun to get to know their families and to understand the impact that an organization such as Gigi's has on them. I am the youngest of 7. I have 6 older siblings, and one of my siblings is actually autistic. So growing up, I got to see the other side of it where my family was benefiting from organizations such as these, and the opportunity to get involved and be on the other end of giving back. I realized how much more rewarding it is to be on the giving end of the piece, and not just to be able to see the positive impact that you're having in others, but truly to develop relationship with people who have experienced the same thing as you, and to see the progression that has been made from when organizations like this first started to the way that we can help now. They have various things that my team has been able to get involved in, such as tutoring. We can just go in and just kind of help walking around in whatever way is needed in the new facility that they just opened up down in Carey. And it's just been a really lovely thing to be able to give back to my community in a personal way that has not only affected me, but has also affected other girls on my teams, and just to know the extent of the impact that it has, not just on them, but on me as well.
Thank you so much. Okay, Izzy. So this young woman grew up outside the United States in the UK. and some descriptions besides being a field hockey player and a student athlete is that you're an artist. Maybe the definition of well-rounded, and a really good artist. So I'm just gonna put a plug out here that Izzy is involved in donating a piece that she created to raise money this weekend. So why don't you kick us off by telling us a little bit about that?
So unfortunately it is, I'm going to preface and say that it's for a UNC charity. I know, boo. But the piece is, the piece kind of combines Duke and UNC. I'll tell you a little bit about the organization. The Fitch Family Foundation, they are a family that their son was unfortunately hit by a car a couple years ago, I believe, and he needed rehabilitation. And of all the Duke and UNC hospitals in the state, they do not have a comprehensive children's rehabilitation center. And so they had to go out of state to do that. And they are now intending to raise money with UNC hospitals to try and build a comprehensive rehabilitation center for children in the state. And so Dawn Kane, I don't know if she's here, but she is one of our athletic staff members and approached me with the idea of submitting a piece for the rivalry game this weekend in the hopes of raising money that goes towards this foundation. So the auction opened up on Wednesday or Thursday, I believe, and it's still going on today. So if you fancy, if you have a split household in any way, it's a perfect thing to have in the house. You can, I mean, hopefully you have our social media accounts and stuff. So if you're interested in looking at it, go and have a look and you can flip it. So if you're a UNC fan, you can have the UNC mascot on the top. And if you're a Duke fan, you can have the Duke mascot on the top. So it really does appease everybody. But yeah, so that, opportunity is something that I've been really looking for. I'm only a sophomore, so I'm just kind of getting going here. And art is, as you can imagine, a very time-consuming activity, as well as our education and our sport, which we do prioritize. So, being fall athletes, it's really started to kick off this spring and last spring. And so this is my first real opportunity to get involved and donate pieces to charity. But it is something that I'm really striving to push towards for the future. And I think it can be a great opportunity for me with the platform that we now have at Duke.
Okay, so check it out, everyone. Still open. Okay, so one of the things I was super curious about for you is how did you find your way to Duke?
So obviously by my accent, I'm English. And in field hockey, we do have a very international sport. So it is an awesome opportunity for us to be recruited over here. For a long time, if we were involved in the England hockey system, which I was, we were not allowed to touch America. We weren't allowed to, if we were 15, 16 years old and we were interested, we were cut from the program. And then just as I was turning about 16, 17, they said, you know what, we'll allow you guys to go out and realize the benefits of being Division I athletes in the hopes that England hockey could kind of poach you back. But I've been wanting to come to the States since I was about 9 or 10 years old. I knew about the opportunities of being a Division I athlete and being able to combine academics and athletics at such a high level. And that is an experience that you cannot get anywhere else in the world, from my understanding. So I started to look as early as possible. I was the first person in my year group, in my grade, in England to commit to an American university. And I had a little bit of a weird path getting here, due to a school dropping 11 sports. But thank goodness that they did, because I ended up at Duke, where I am just absolutely living my best life. And I really love it here. And I don't intend to go back. So I will be staying here, hopefully, if I can get a visa. But yeah, again, it's just being in this environment more and more affirms how good this decision was for me and how special this experience was. I feel like I can't speak on your guys' experience of growing up, but we don't have the opportunity to really combine everything. They're all competing for, are you going to be a student or are you going to be an athlete? And in my case, am I going to go to art school? Am I going to be an artist? And I had to put the ideas of being an artist on hold. And, I did not pursue an art school. And I came out here. And what's been amazing is that I have been able to combine and join art into this, high achieving lifestyle that we do get to have, almost in a more perfect way than I would have anywhere else. And I think that's what's been so special about Duke, and I honestly don't think I would have got at any other university in the country, is that all three work so harmoniously together, which most people are like, are you crazy? How are you, managing to do that? But it really does work quite easily and effortlessly here at Duke, yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm going to move on to Emily so that we have time for Q&A after this. So Emily Cole, she is one of our 2 seniors on the panel. Emily is incredibly accomplished in track and field. She also, with Brianna, holds a school record that we will talk about. Along with being a computer science major, you're so my people, you're also an accomplished author. So I would love for you to touch on, well, in a couple of minutes, all of those things, and maybe start with telling us the story that you wanted to tell through your writing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I just want all of y'all to know that I am such a big fan of Sue, and I'm so excited we finally got to meet. As she mentioned, my name's Emily, and I'm a senior on the track and field and cross country teams here at Duke. And I am, my passion in my life is really my book, and that was inspired out of, I actually did volleyball and basketball up until my senior year of high school. I did not think I was going to do athletics in college. My parents had always pushed academics, and they just talked about how it was, it was the 1% that get to do athletics in college, and then it's the 1% of that 1% that also get to do that at a high-level academic institution. And they always were just so encouraging for us to prioritize our school. And both my sisters ended up, I have 2 older sisters that are 8 and 9 years older than me. So kind of like you mentioned being the final draft, I definitely got to see them do take their separate paths in life. And one went to Duke and one went to Vanderbilt, and they didn't do sports there, but they were huge inspirations to me in everything that I did. And my senior year of high school, I had done track and cross country until that year, but that was the year that I stopped doing volleyball and basketball and really started focusing on running. And kind of in conjunction with that, I had known nothing about sports nutrition up until that point. So I started eating healthier and was just amazed at the differences that I felt in my body and in my performance, and was just in my life, overall happiness as well. So I became super passionate about it, and I actually, it's like whenever you get to that point, it's whenever you're a high school athlete and you think that you know everything in the world. I had started cooking more, and I didn't realize actually the importance of sodium in your diet. So as college athletes, we are all told all the time to put electrolytes in our water, and I did not know what that was, and I was just drinking plain water. I'm from Houston, Texas, so it was very hot outside, and I qualified for my first ever state cross country meet, and the night before the state meet, I had been feeling sick for a few weeks, and I actually I was gradually getting super low in sodium because I had been deplenishing my electrolytes by not having enough salt in my food and not putting electrolytes in my water. And the night before my state meet, I actually went into a self-induced coma for 2 days. It was a very scary moment for both my family and I, and it was just a really big wake-up call for, the fact that what our society deems as healthy is not exactly what anyone needs, much less athletes that are pushing their bodies to extreme levels. So I'm super grateful. I actually fun fact, I went into the coma on the day after my meet. I was supposed to come on my official visit to Duke. And the coaches were so incredible, kind, and understanding. They let me reschedule it for a couple weeks later whenever they could have, maybe been a little wary about it and not given me that opportunity. So every day I'm grateful to be here and grateful to have this opportunity and be next to such incredible women like I am on this stage. But I really, after that moment, was just inspired to create a resource for high school athletes and even just the general population that teaches the fundamentals of sports nutrition, but also talks about the importance of finding balance in that journey and understanding that what everyone else is doing around you might not be what works for you, and you really have to listen to your own personal needs. So my book is called The Player's Plate, and it's out on Amazon. You can get it. But the first half teaches the fundamentals, and the second half talks more about this aspect of balance. And I interviewed a bunch of incredible registered dietitians and elite athletes and gave each of them their own chapter. So I kind of tell one core sports nutrition concept from each of their stories, and then I have a recipe at the end of each chapter teaching you how to put it into practice. Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about why you decided to major in computer science? I mean, none of you have taken an easy path, that's for sure. But can you chat a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I took a couple of computer science classes in high school, and I'm not gonna lie, I did not like them. But I did a 1-week experience at the University of Texas, Austin, and I loved it. And I've always been very math-centric, so I loved the problem-solving nature of computer science. I think that kind of goes well with being an athlete as well, and kind of entrepreneurship in the same vein, which is why I can talk about this later, but I'm more inclined towards like social media, name, image, and likeness, because it's more entrepreneurial. But I love, like I said, the problem-solving nature of computer science, and I'm also combining it with economics. I would love to be able to I took machine learning, and I would love to be able to help create a resource that helps people better understand their nutritional needs and their health, because everybody is so unique and it is such a not well understood topic for everyone. I think that there could be much better guidelines for you and your own personal needs, and that's something that technology has the ability to help us perfect over time.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone noticed, she slipped in that she combined computer science with economics. I majored in economics and almost didn't get through it. So incredible. So we're going to open it up to questions from the audience. And while we are identifying that first question, I wanted to ask, Izzy, maybe I'll ask you this question. We have an incredible group of women here from Duke. And something tells me that after having the experience of getting to know all of you, maybe they'll start to follow you and have this personal interest in your success here. Can you talk a little bit about what you would love to see from this incredible female community and how they could specifically support you as a student athlete?
Yeah, so we've spoken about this. We jumped on a Zoom call and we spoke about, the ways around this, because I'm sure, women want to help women. I know Nina said that maybe that's not the case in a lot of times, but I know that that's the case for the people in this room. And Sue Bird has just come out, for anyone who's interested in the WNBA, talking about the investment into women's sports. Women's sports, women's basketball is not a charity. They're an investment that goes for all women's sports. So obviously, it's great to have monetary investment, but I think what you can realize here is that we are humans. We're not just another athlete on another team that's going to cycle through every 4 years. So in our day and age, that looks like social media. That looks like following our stories, investing in our processes to get to where we're going, and opportunities to help us kind of keep doing what we do at a high level, especially once we leave an institution that gives us this platform. We're kind of on our own there, but we're not, because we have such an amazing network and community of people that can continue our growth after we leave Duke. So I'd probably say, in whatever ways that you can, into all of our student athletes at Duke, just keep following, keep investing, and if you see something that maybe catches your eye of like, hey, I can help, or I know somebody who can help here. We have been fairly proactive with progressing into what our ambitions are, but there are many student athletes and female student athletes who don't necessarily know how to do that, or don't have those paths yet. And those are the people that need to be invested in and shown, hey, this is what you can do and this is why you're valuable. So, and that wasn't really a clear-cut answer, but that is probably what I see for the progression, yeah.
Hi. You can hear me, right? Okay, great. First, congrats on being awesome Duke students. I was curious, I feel like maybe this has changed, is starting to change, but historically going back, we've seen like professional female athletes, you know, women's soccer, women's basketball being some of the most engaged in like the big political movements of our time and the big social issues, and like especially with like the professional female athletes of color, professional female athletes who are members of the LGBT community. And I was just curious if you guys feel that, you know, as female athletes here at Duke, you kind of shoulder an additional burden on those issues, or if you feel like your male athletic colleagues are also taking up that mantle.
Yeah, I think that's a great question and a great point to make. As president of United Black Athletes, and yes, I've been in this group for a long time, I do feel like our female athletes are more willing to step up and speak about things. I think I see a pattern of, in my org, Black female athletes being more involved or doing more. And it's not that I don't think the men don't want to get involved, but I think they may not always have the necessary, like, how much we care about it. I don't know, like, if they necessarily care about it as much as we do, as much as, like, I feel like female athletes are always at the forefront. We're the ones making change. We're the ones speaking up. And I feel like sometimes our male counterparts are more okay with just, like, letting things flow and not necessarily, like, going against the grain or showing that, like, they want to be the one to resist. They want to be the one to make a change. And I absolutely think that that needs to stop. I definitely think that, like, we're stronger together than we are apart. And I know for sure if we could get our male athletes to mobilize and to speak up as much as we do, we can make quicker impact, quicker changes. And I think that really starts with us all just like having conversations. I think that's really where it starts. Having conversations about what we want to do, what our goals are, where do we see things moving forward, and what it really means to stand up and resist and go against the grain.
Thank you all so much. As someone who played number 6 on the tennis team before Title IX, where the first 3 tennis players were fabulous and the rest of us were not, I'd like to just commend everything you're doing. I wanted to ask if you could picture yourselves 20 years from now and how you would envision your best life at that point.
Okay, hi. I believe in 20 years, the best place I could be in life is just really anywhere in a position where I have enough power to have a direct positive impact on the lives of not just maybe like communities, but just individual people. I think that especially within the realm of sports, we're just in an era where your prosperity and your success is measured by how much money you make, how many times your name is said within like the sportscasting of a game. There are a lot of tangible measures of your success, and that's what people base you off of. I was extremely blessed and fortunate to come from a family where my parents really instilled the value in me that your success and how well you've made it in life should truly be a measure of the impact that you have on others, and that's where you should base things from. And so I believe in 20 years, I'm not 100% with like what occupation or what kind of job that I want to pursue after college, and I'm 100% okay with that because I know that personally, I just have a passion for helping people. So there are just so many jobs in the world where you can have a direct impact on people's lives and make them better, not just individually, but systemically, so that the people who come after them also are living better lives. And so I think any job that would put me in a position to implement that type of positive change would be somewhere that I'm not only happy and blessed, but I'm extremely joyful to be in. So, yeah.
So anybody that leaves here and says kids these days in a way that doesn't represent this is crazy, right? Because we have the opportunity to see young people in our communities, but here we are seeing young people in our community, and they're just incredible. What I want to know from you all is, what do you think it takes to win these days? You know, we look at kids these days, and we look at the challenges that our athletes have experienced over the last few years. Teams are still winning. So what do you think it is that makes you even more competitive or able to take home a championship in 2023?
Yeah, I think it goes back to our why Duke. I think the passion and the competitiveness that we have now didn't just happen when we got here. It existed in us forever, and it's why we're here. And so I think despite all of the challenges that we go through as women, as athletes, as, you know, all of the above, we are able to compete and lead and challenge and think past what other students at other institutions might be able to do. And I think leading towards those championships, this is a great group of women, and I think we're trying to bring other people into that too. We're leaders on our teams, but we want to sort of permeate that through the other student athletes that we have. And I think the kids these days should be a reflection of something that's great. And it's kids these days are faster, are stronger, are brighter, they're more intelligent, they're willing to push the limits of what people could have done before them. And I think the championships and the accolades that we get at the end are just the icing on a cake that we've baked forever.
I make my way up here.
I also was a former tennis player here, so I'm asking, both as a mom of a current Duke sophomore and a former athlete, you guys have come of age at a really unusual time. You were part of the generation that went through COVID and had varying experiences. Some of you were still in high school, some were here at Duke. And I wonder if you could speak to the mental challenges of going through that time as a student athlete and not being able to train every day and to do the things that you have grown up doing. And then what is the continuing mental effect, do you think, of the COVID shutdown and the pressures of today's student athletes? Mentally, how do you feel, and what can we do to make sure that Duke and other schools are more supportive of the mental health of athletes?
I can definitely take this one. So I was a freshman whenever everything happened with COVID. We were in the middle of kind of starting our first outdoor track season. We had a couple of teammates that were at indoor nationals whenever everything got shut down. And so that was super interesting because a lot of I think it was like Harvard specifically, whenever they pulled out first, their athletes made a big post on social media about not being a part of it. And then it slowly, within the day, every other school had also pulled out and the whole thing had been canceled. So as all of y'all know, it progressed very quickly. But I think as a senior now, looking back, it's been really interesting to see how it did change our experiences, and just to show you a little bit of how all Duke students, not just athletes, really do love the experience here and want to be a part of it. Duke gives us the opportunity to live off campus as seniors, and this was the first year ever where they were giving people opportunities again and again and again to go off campus that they wouldn't before because everyone wanted to be on campus. And most of the time the seniors take that opportunity immediately to go live in an apartment. But we had all actually been able to because of COVID, and they had like 800 seniors apply for 600 beds and like the best dorm or whatever. So it's definitely eye-opening to all of us to understanding how short our time is here. And I definitely still feel like a junior, even though I'm a senior, just because that year we kind of lost. I personally took a gap semester during that first fall that we had, and I'm so grateful that my coaches supported me through that decision because it's one of the best things that I did in my life. It was why I was able to write the book and really get started on that endeavor because I didn't have competition and school at the same time. But I think that there have just been so many incredible policies and so many incredible ways for people to support us that have been set up because of everyone going through COVID. I think that all of the movements for mental health and the support of the mental health of athletes within athletics has been incredible over the past year. And I know it's only going to go up from here, but I think even especially seeing professional athletes coming out and speaking about their struggles and training alone or just having to go through that and not having the competition of your sport to continue to keep you motivated. I know it was a really hard time for all of us, but I do think that there were a lot of great things that came out of it.
And I'll just say something on the mental health piece at Duke as well. I think Duke does a really excellent job of supporting our athletes with mental health facilities. Not only do we have a student-run organization here called Morgan's Message, and for those who aren't aware of that organization, they are a student-athlete-based organization that started at Duke after the unfortunate loss of one of the Duke women's lacrosse players several years ago. And that, is student run and it is all over the country and doing amazing work and influencing, male student athlete, female student athletes, absolutely amazing. But then we do have behavioral health facilities here at Duke that just do amazing work. They are in every single team. Our coaches have meetings with the team and the behavioral health staff. They encourage us to go speak to behavioral health. We have so many services here and so many facilities. So hopefully, it can't be 100% all the time that none of this stuff goes under the radar because there is so much awareness. And that was something I noticed so obviously when I joined here. I wasn't here over the pandemic, but the reaction to the pandemic in terms of the mental health services are exceptional. And it's really amazing to see.
Hi, I just wanted to say you guys are incredible. Your stories are awesome. We found Izzy's artwork. We got to up those bids, ladies. So go find it. And Emily, we found your book. I mean, the women on this stage are incredible. I have a 10-year-old daughter. I hope one day she could be half as amazing as you all are. My question is actually about her. I read all these articles about how girls' confidence starts to plummet at age 8. And you guys are not, you guys have a ton of confidence. Can you talk about how growing up in this age of social media and pressure, what sports has done and how you avoided the pitfalls to get where you are today, what advice you have, what can I do to help my daughter to hopefully one day be up on this stage too?
I feel like it's very hard to be confident in this era of social media, especially as female athletes where like our bodies, our appearance, like they are very integral in how we perform. So a lot of the times it's hard to love yourself, like yourself when you feel like what you look like is not conducive to your sport, or like how your body is not conducive to your sport. And also, like you said, with social media, it's even harder when you're just flooded with things that like you wish you could be or like you want to look like all day, every day. And I honestly feel like it's an ongoing battle. It always is. I don't think there's ever a moment, like I consider myself to be a very confident person, and I still think there's moments or days where I feel not the most confident or like I don't like everything about myself. But I think really constant positive affirmation is so important to me. Like I think especially coming from you, coming from people like she cares about and values, like just over and over and over again, getting that validation, affirmations to the point where she'll start to believe in herself no matter what. Because I think The most important thing is that she believes it herself, the affirmations that you're giving her, because when you believe things about yourself, no one can take them from you. If you're only relying on like maybe what other people say, but you don't necessarily believe it yourself, then that's kind of like a fragile confidence. But I feel like if you really start to truly believe like great and amazing things about yourself, you're reinforcing yourself with these positive things every day. Like I try to do 3 affirmations for myself every single day, like no matter if it's in the looks category, the sports category, how smart I am, anything, just to constantly remind myself till I believe it's true that I am great, I am enough. All these things I think are great ways to combat whatever can happen, whatever social media can tell you.
And I guess to add on to that, I think from a parent's perspective, the best thing that you can do is just be unapologetically and unconditionally supportive, just in whatever way. Similar to Piper and Emily, I'm the youngest, so final draft. I think I got like the best end of parenting that my parents had to offer. And just from that, especially from being a student athlete, a lot of times we tie our worth to our performance. And we tie our worth to how good our record is, how well we're playing, whether or not we're playing, and things like that. And it makes life a roller coaster, which it doesn't need to be. And it weighs on your confidence so heavily. But I was extremely blessed to come from a family where I constantly had my parents drilling into me, okay, yeah, maybe you had a bad game, but hey, we still love you. You're still on the team. You're still valued. We're still going to get ice cream after. Like simple little things like that that really keep life in perspective of knowing there's not one area or one form of your life that can assign worth to you. Because as people, as individuals, there are so many things that make us special. Like you're a sum of your experiences, and no one can pick one experience and determine your value from that because they don't know your whole story. So I think the biggest piece of advice that I received from my dad that's forever stuck with me is to give grace to others because you don't know what they've been through, and then give grace to yourself when it comes to the opinions of others. Like you just have to take it with a grain of salt because they don't know what all you've been through. And so I think constantly reinforcing like in your children to understand that you're a sum of your experiences and your worth just comes from simply existing. The fact that you get up every day and you try and you don't give up and you're constantly striving to be the best version of yourself, that makes you worth more than what words can describe. So just making sure they understand that.